Namaste. This is David Hawthorne at astroview.com. Today is the 22nd of September 2015. So today Pope Francis came to the United States. So let's do a little Vedic astrology reading on his chart based on the 17th of December 1936, 9 p.m. Buenos Aires, Argentina. Now, using Vedic astrology from India and the sidereal zodiac, which is 23 degrees earlier than the tropical zodiac used by Western astrologers, we see that in the first house, at the time of birth, if we looked east on the horizon, the third sign of the zodiac was ascending or rising at 17 degrees, Gemini. So this is known as Matun Lagna, Gemini rising sign, which is an air sign ruled by Mercury. So we know that the Gemini rising sign person is very intelligent. Air signs are very intelligent persons, Gemini, Libra, and Aquarius. Gemini is actually symbolized as the twins, male, female, two-in-one wholeness. Very complete persons, and some very successful persons have been Geminis, including Bill Gates, the founder of Microsoft, and Professor B.K. Chaudhry, India, who is, in my opinion, the world's leading professor of Vedic astrology. Now, Pope Francis has Ketu, Ketu, the southern node in the first house at 1 degree 17 minutes. It's always opposite Rahu, Rahu, the northern node at 1 degree 17 minutes in this case. Now, anytime Rahu and Ketu are close to the rising sign degree, they cause trouble. So in this case, they are not. They're 16 degrees from the ascendant degree. This is known as most effective point of every house. And any planet close to the most effective point has an influence. And if it's a functional benefic planet, it gives something favorable where it sits and where it aspects. And vice versa. If a planet is functional malefic, it can cause harm where it is positioned and where it aspects. So we would say that Ketu is benign in the first house. We also say that Ketu is moksha karaka, significator for spirituality. So this brings a very deep sense of spirituality and detachment from worldly life. He does not watch television. He rides around in a small Fiat. He lives in a very humble abode. Truly a good pope of the masses. This brings amount of spiritual enlightenment into the chart, into the first house of self. Now his second house contains the fourth sign Cancer, third house, fifth sign Leo, fourth house, sixth sign Virgo, fifth house, seventh sign Libra, sixth house, eighth sign Scorpio, seventh house, ninth sign Sagittarius, eighth house, 10th sign Capricorn, ninth house, 11th sign Aquarius, 10th house, 12th sign Pisces, 11th house, first sign Aries, and 12th house, second sign Taurus. Now Mars sits in this fourth house at 26 degrees 31 minutes. This is a good position for Mars. Now, when evaluating whether a planet is a functional benefic or functional malefic, we always have to take a look at the position of what is known as the Multricone signs. Every planet has an exaltation sign. Every planet has a debilitation sign. And every planet has its own sign, and every planet has a Multricone sign. The Multricone signs are 1, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9, and 11. If these fall in favorable houses, then the rulers of those signs are functional benefic planets. Now of the 12 houses, from the first around to the 12th, 9 are favorable. First, second, third, fourth, fifth, 7th, 9th, 10th, and 11th are favorable houses. Planets placed in the favorable houses are considered well placed. So in this case, Ketu, Mars, Rahu, Sun, Jupiter, Mercury, and Saturn are well placed. 3 houses are considered inauspicious houses. They're called Dustan Bhavas. These are the 6th house, the 8th house, and the 12th house. Planets going into the 6th, 8th, or 12th become weak. And planets ruling these houses, in some cases, can cause adverse effects, but only if the house contains a Multracone sign. So for the Gemini rising sign, the 6th house does not contain a Multracone sign. The 8th house does not contain a Multracone sign. The 12th house does not contain a Multracone sign. So the 6th, 8th, and 12th rulers do not cause harm in this chart. So the good news for the Gemini rising sign is that Sun, Moon, Mars, Mercury, Jupiter, Venus, and Saturn are functional benefic planets and will never cause harm. So Mars ruling this 11th house of gains and income, in the house of property, happiness, home life, childhood. It is a bit weak. It's past 25 degrees. There's only 30 degrees possible. So past 25 degrees is old age. So this causes some weakness relative to older siblings. He has no older siblings. This also gives some weakness of the muscular parts of the body, but this is a good position of Mars. It causes no harm in this chart. It's a favorable planet. Now we see that Moon and Venus are in the 8th house, so they do become weak. Moon rules the 2nd house, which is wealth, status, and continuation of family life. So Moon in the 8th house, which is a Dustan Bhava, inauspicious house, the house of delays, obstructions, setbacks, transformations, vulnerability, suggests there is no continuation of family life, meaning he does not have his own children. And Venus ruling wife is also in the 8th house, so this denies, delays, or denies marriage to a woman. And Venus rules this 5th house of Libra, which is the house of children. So this weakness turns into a plus for him. So lack of desire for a wife and children and continuation of family life. Now Sun rules his 3rd house of Leo and is placed in the 7th house of Sagittarius. Now Sun is known as Atma Karaka, significator for the soul. And it's in Sagittarius, which is ruled by Jupiter. And Jupiter sitting in its own sign here. And Jupiter is known as Guru. Jupiter is the planet of education, religion, and law. So this would suggest that he is a do-gooder. Sagittarius is a very optimistic and fortunate rising sign, or sign in general. And because Jupiter is in its own sign, and this is what we call a Kendra, 7th house is a Kendra, the 1st, 4th, 7th, and 10th are Kendras. The 1st, 5th, and 9th are called trines. But when a planet is in its own Multracone sign, in a Kendra, it is very rare, and it is known as a Panch Mahapurush Yoga. So Panch means 5, Maha means great. It's one of the 5 great yogas of life. This one's called Hamsh Yoga, and it gives tremendous discrimination. It gives tremendous education. He's a world-class scholar. And of course Jupiter is law and religion. So this is a wonderful placement. We also have Mercury, which is the intellect in this sign. So Sun and Mercury get the benefit of being with the Panch Mahapurush Yoga. Now, unfortunately, this Sun at 2 degrees, less than 3 degrees, is close to Rahu and under the aspect of Ketu. Anytime planets are within 5 degrees of each other by conjunction or by aspect, there's an impact. Now, Rahu and Ketu are not bothering Sun because they're 9 degrees. They're not bothering Jupiter, 9 degrees from Jupiter, and they're not bothering Mercury, 17 degrees from Mercury. But they're clearly bothering Sun. So Sun is father, and Rahu and Ketu caused the eclipse of the Sun. So his father died at an early age of 50. My concern for Pope Francis is that the Sun is the heart, cardiovascular system. It's the stomach, the digestion, blood, bones, immune system. So I believe that Pope Francis is vulnerable to some heart attack. I don't think so much stroke, because stroke would be involved with the brain. But this is a heart issue, and Moon is also connected with the heart, and it's in the 8th house. So he can do some remedies for this. One remedy is actually to wear a ruby gemstone. If it's a Burma, pure, unheated, untreated ruby, which is very rare and expensive, then 2 carats would be fine, but otherwise 2 to 5 carats would be better for a ruby. He should wear that on the ring finger of the left hand. Back of the stone should touch the skin. He needs to strengthen this. My prediction is that he will suffer some heart ailment. But thank goodness he's made it to, 78, I guess. In pretty good shape. And that, in my opinion, is due to Saturn. Look at Saturn over here, 23 degrees in Aquarius. This is the 9th house, known as the house of Dharma, but it's also known as Bhagya, divine grace, good luck, good fortune, and Guru, long-distance journeys. And Saturn is also known as Ayush Karaka, significator for longevity of life. It's in its own sign, so this gives longevity. And Saturn is free from any afflictions. So Ketu throws an aspect 5, 7, and 9 houses away, but it's outside the 5-degree orb of Saturn and Jupiter and Mercury. So in essence, we say he's Gemini. There's a lot of good fortune, a lot of education, a lot of wisdom. This is spirituality in the 1st house. It makes him very enlightened, very spiritual, very detached. Moon ruling continuation of family life is in the house of obstructions, delays. Sun ruling his own self-efforts is in the house of partnerships, relationships, and foreign lands. Mercury, by the way, is close to the rising sign degree, so it's blessing this 7th house, and it aspects the 1st house. So this gives him a very clear intellect. He's very perceptive, very intelligent. You see things very clearly. And Mercury, of course, is the planet of speech and communications. It does very well in that department as well. 4th house is Virgo, ruled by Mercury. This is home life, and Mercury's in the house of foreign lands and partnerships and joint ventures. And it's with Jupiter ruling law and religion, with the royal sun, where a person can become a king. Venus ruling the 5th house of children, down here in the house of obstruction, delays, disappointment, setbacks. So probably better he didn't have children, could have lost children. Now Venus rules the house of mind, and Venus rules the house of higher education. And the 8th house is language, research, mystical experiences, and occult knowledge. He does need to take care of not taking too much sugar products, because this can cause diabetes down here, trouble with the kidneys, the pancreas, or reproductive organs. And this can cause some trouble with the chest, lungs, fluids in the body, and thyroid. These are weak. He could be wearing white clothing and a pearl to strengthen the moon, and he can wear a diamond to strengthen the Venus. Seventh ruler in the seventh house. That's fantastic. That's Panch Mahapurush Yoga. Ninth house ruler in its own sign. Excellent. 10th house Pisces. It's interesting. His 10th house of karma, career, and professional life is Pisces. It's a water sign. It's the 12th and final sign of the zodiac. So Pisces is very Christ-like. Pisces is connected with compassion. 11th house, first sign Aries, ruled by Mars. By the way, Sun rules his third house of younger siblings. And Sun is afflicted by Rahu and Ketu. So he had 4 younger siblings, and only 3 are gone. Only 1 is alive. This caused an eclipse of younger siblings. Now we just checked the Navam's chart to make sure that planets have not gone into their debilitation signs. This is this is called 1/9 divisional chart. It's like an X-ray of this. Here we have Sun exalted, which is wonderful, but conjunct Rahu, so loss of father. Venus in its own sign of Taurus is excellent. Moon in Gemini, similar to Gemini rising. This is an exalted Jupiter in the house of mind. What is Jupiter? Education, law, and religion. And here's Mercury exalted in Virgo, in its own sign of Virgo, in its own Multrikona sign of Virgo. So this is also Panch Mahapurush Yoga. This one's called Bhadra Yoga. So good for the intellect. So we'll go now to have a YouTube chart thing. This way you can have a copy of this if you want. Okay, so one thing I wanted to point out over here is he was elected on March 13th, 2013. So this is your Mahadasha periods over here. We can take a look at this real quickly. So he's born in a Chandra Mahadash, moon main period, lasted the first 3 years. So it's the root to the tree of life, and it's in the house of research, language, mystical experiences, and occult knowledge. 7 years of Mars, home life. 18 years of Rahu, relationships. But look at this 16 years of Jupiter. This is when everything kicked in, 64 to 80, where he just really got into the whole religion and knowledge. And then we've got 19 years of Saturn in the house of Guru, religion, spirituality, long-distance journeys. So that ran from October 80 to October 99. Then 17 years of Mercury. Brilliant Mercury here, blessing the 7th house of relationships and the 1st house of self, intellect, communications. So he actually was in his Mercury main period in 2013. See? And in March 2013, look at the sub-period. It was Guru, Jupiter, Panch Mahapurush Yoga. Ran from October 2011 until February 2014. And now he's in Saturn. Saturn rules the masses. Saturn's in the house of Dharma, divine grace, good luck, good fortune, Guru, religion, spirituality, and long-distance journeys. Also, he was elected during this Jupiter sub-period which is in the 7th house, which is also connected with foreign lands. Look at this. In October 2016, a year from now, he will go into 7 years of Ketu. He will become very reclusive and very enlightened. And I doubt that the Venus is going to support him. It's in the 8th house. So Ketu is all about spirituality. He'll probably just get very reclusive. This is probably not a good subperiod for him here, March 2017 to May 2018. That's Venus in the 8th house. This is not a favorable house. And the sun period here is not good for his heart either. It's only a 4-month period, but it's not good for his heart. And the moon period is not good for his heart. So he may go to Brahmaloka during Ketu. But you can read over here some of the things I said in my weekly column. Ketu representing spirituality in the 1st house gives worldly detachment. Sun, Jupiter, Mercury, and Sagittarius make him a clergy, a man of knowledge, and a first-rate professor. Jupiter in its own sign of Sagittarius is a great yoga, Panchamahaprusha yoga, for learning, teaching, wisdom, morality, optimism, benevolence, and divine grace. Saturn in its own sign of Aquarius gives dharma, connected with humility and service to the masses. Moon and Venus representing wife in the 2nd house of family life and the 5th house of children, in the 8th house, deny or reduce the desire for wife and children. Rahu afflicts the sun, which cuts short the life of his father, who died at 50, and the lives of younger siblings. Only 1 of 4 remain. This also represents heart illness for Pope Francis. He should wear a ruby gemstone on his left hand ring finger. And I'm sure we all wish Pope Francis a long and healthy life. I really do think that he's one of the best popes we've ever had in modern times. So I wish him all the best and success. Namaste.